one thing that I went through with the girls, because they came from a neglect case, was there was some neglect as far as their health issues go, and because they were around a lot of violence, they were very aggressive towards each other. Daycare, there was a lot of fighting. They became very defensive against each other with food, with toys, with anything. And it was very hard just to learn how to help them not to be so defensive. And I always use the word vicious, and it sounds so hard, but they really were like always attacking each other. They were twins, and they weren't loving. And they could bite each other 10 times in a day out of frustration. And I would just, because they were little, I would just pick them up and put them in the crib and separate them and just try to keep them separated. And then as they got older, I mean, they're 3.5 now. They had stopped biting, and now they've gone back to biting. So that's part of a problem. It's a problem at school that we have to deal with. One of the things that I started doing, because they would hit each other a lot, every time one would hit each other or kick each other, I would make them rub that area, and they couldn't stop until that child felt better. And I used to have them say sorry. Well, that didn't work. It only worked for a little while. And then after they got used to saying sorry, it didn't help. So what I was doing was I was having them acknowledge that they hurt the other child. They had to rub that area or kiss it until that child said that they felt better. They have come to the point now where if one falls and hurts themselves, they'll be the one to go over and say, "Are you okay?" They'll come to me and say, "Mommy, she's hurt." And like if I'm not paying attention, what I have to do, because they acknowledged it, I have to acknowledge their pain. And every time they hurt each other, I'm making them acknowledge each other's pain, and they have come around and they have become so loving and so sweet. All they needed was someone to tell them who they really were, and not to keep feeding a bad behavior or violence. I couldn't discipline them with something bad. I had to turn it around and give them something good and start to treat them like they were good, they were special, they were loved. And I didn't care how bad they behaved. I had to just keep persisting and loving them. And at daycare, every day I would pick them up and I would say, "How'd they do? How are they?" And it almost gets tiresome because you hear them say, "Well, you know, they did this and did that." Sometimes I don't want to ask because I don't want to hear anymore. And I just want to hear that they were good. And I love it when I pick them up and I hear, "Oh, they're doing so much better. They're doing so good." And so I would say try to be involved as much as you can at the daycare. Volunteer. They will recognize you. I mean, I got a certificate from the daycare at the end of the year for volunteering. They appreciate your help. The more time you spend with them, when they come back to my home from daycare, when they were little, I would take them in the room, just me and them. I have a rocking chair in there. And just, if it only was 5 or 10 minutes, I would sit in that chair and rock them just for a few minutes to bring them back into me, to bring them back. Because they were gone from me the whole day. They had stress, they had fighting, they had kids. And they would come home and they were just like all over the place. So I'd bring them in, bring them back to a small room, which is their bedroom, that they know where all their stuff is, and I would sit in there with them. And the rest of the night would go so much better. But if I would just let them come home and let them just, you know, run through the house and do whatever they wanted, it was kind of like this chaos. But if I would bring them back in and let them know that I was there and hold them and rock them just for a few minutes, it seemed to make everything so much better.